You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in and listening to The Real Short Box. My name is Donald.
My name is Dr. Kevin.
My name is the Fool Killer Jared, killing fools. I pity them, but I don't.
And we're all here today to discuss one Mr. Johnny Walker, and I'm not talking about the whiskey, the scotch. I'm talking about the U.S. agent, a.k.a. Captain America.
Yeah, now, a lot of people, I would imagine, are either hyped or curious about this character because if you haven't been watching, and there will be maybe minor spoilers for the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus show, which is, as of this recording, we have seen episode 2, episode 3 will be coming on at midnight. So if you don't want to hear any of that, before you watch those shows, go watch them and then come back and listen. But yeah, we were talking about Mr. U.S. Agent John Walker, and this character, I'm going to go over his first appearances and who he was created by, and then we'll start going into his history. But he was created by Mr. Captain America Uber writer Mark Grunwald and artist Paul Neary. This is another one of those kind of like a Hyperion. He's got so many first appearances, so you speculators that were trying to grab his books, you had a good chance about getting something with him. So we have his first appearance as a character named Super Patriot was Captain America number 323. Then he took over the reins and became Captain America, and that was in issue 333. And then later, and we'll get to this, he becomes a character that he is known as today, and that is U.S. Agent, and that was Captain America 354. So, shall we begin?
Yeah, with the cover, when he came back as Captain America, wasn't it like his face on the cover and he had his fist and he was like, "I'm back"?
That was the U.S. Agent debut.
Oh, that's the U.S. Agent.
Yeah. Yeah, the cover where he becomes Captain America is the... Oh, God, what is... Oh, it's the...
It's 333, is it? 332, something like that?
I think it's the one where there's like an empty mask, right? Isn't that the one? And it's
yeah, the empty mask.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
So... he was first introduced as a supervillain named Super Patriot in Captain America 323. Mark Grunwald wanted to create Walker to counter the general message of Captain America, of patriotism being invariably good, describing him as someone who embodied patriotism in a way that Captain America didn't. A patriotic villain, quote, basically, I just wanted to do the opposite of Steve Rogers, okay? Steve Rogers is a poor northern urban boy, so I'll make a guy from a rural middle-class South. From the rural middle class South. Cap is now old, so this guy will be a real young up-and-comer. Cap has lofty ideals, so I'll make Super Patriot be more realistic and more pragmatic. So I put together his background and character traits by playing the opposite game. Now, Grunwald flat out said he did this because of sales, because he knew that at the time, James Rhodes had taken over for Iron Man and become Iron Man because Stark had become a drunk. Who's the other character? There's another character that Beta Ray Bill had replaced Thor because he proved he was more powerful than Thor and could actually lift a hammer. And right. Thor was probably a drunk too. So he said, we're going to do this because what happens is people start reading the books and they go, wait, who's this Cap? And they go, I got to check it out. And then he goes, and then hopefully they'll get invested in the stories and become a reader. Now, the crazy thing about this guy, and we'll get into his personality and everything, is that, so there was a cover of a Captain America, Steve Rogers Captain America issue, where Steve had a gun in his hand. And, Captain America is not about guns. He's kind of like Batman with that. Like, he's rarely going to have a gun in his hand. It's always the shield. And they got a lot of fan letters saying, we want more of that. And as he was saying, they wanted him to Rambo-ize or Rambo-size, however you want to say that.
Or Red Hooded.
Yeah.
Well, Rambo was real popular around this time, if I recall.
That's right. True.
Well, they wanted
about 86, 87, 88, somewhere around there. So Rambo was at
and Punisher was really big. Wolverine was getting huge.
Reagan, I think, was president around that time.
Yeah.
That's right. That's correct.
So The funny thing is this character of John Walker, who was like super patriot, and that was his name at one point, was like, it was almost like, it's kind of funny because, we know we're not going to get political in our podcast, but like, it definitely suits the narrative of our times, of our past presidency and all the people with that. Like, he was like, America is beautiful no matter what, and do not question it. And what happened was Steve Rogers was questioning it as, a sane person would. So John Walker, we'll just get into it. John Walker was born in the fictional town of Custer's Grove, Georgia. He grew up idolizing his older brother, Mike, a helicopter pilot who died in the Vietnam War in 1974. John wanted to live up to Mike's memory, who was idolized by their parents, and so he later enlisted in the military. He served in Fort Bragg, but he was sent to a unit that really didn't do anything because it was peacetime. So he didn't get to be the hero he wanted to be. And after he received an honorable discharge from the United States Army, he was told by a friend about this guy named the Power Broker. And now if you're watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Power Broker has definitely been alluded to in the credits. He is a mysterious individual who gave people superhuman abilities. Walker and his friend received treatments that granted them superhuman abilities. So basically, him and his buddy, who becomes another character who we've already seen in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, ends up becoming a guy named Battlestar. They get this serum from the Power Broker, and what it does is it's a shot that literally gives you super strength, and so basically instant super soldier. And he ends up becoming part of the Unlimited Class Wrestling Federation, which I pray to God they introduce into the MCU and somehow, because how fucking cool would that be? Just super
Wasn't
wrestler.
it like that a lot of the writers were just really into wrestling around the time?
I think
sense.
so.
Would
And
make
they
sense.
wanted to find a way, because wasn't the Thing part of that wrestling federation?
Yeah, in the first appearance of the Unlimited Wrestling Class Federation. And by the way, that's still like a $2 book, so grab it just for the hell of it. It's a Thing issue. It was introduced in the Thing, and he was a member. What's his name? Demolition Man was a member. It was a cool group.
G-Man.
So basically, he becomes this guy. He takes on this moniker of Super Patriot. And the funny thing is, it's so funny because it really fits into. It's such a modern story, or when you read it, and it's one of my favorite Cap stories. And if you can find it, there's a trade paperback called The Captain, and it's literally like 30 issues of this story. And basically, what it is so Cap, the commission, which is this government agency, brings Cap before them. And they say, "Look, Cap, we want you to be the face of America." And he's like, "Well, I am the face of America." They're like, "Yes, that's true, but we kind of want to dictate what you do." And he's like, "Well, that's not, we're in a democracy and like we're individuals and we think for ourselves." And they're like, "Yeah, that's not going to work. So you got to give up the Cap moniker." So he's like, "Okay." And now he's already had a run-in with Super Patriot, who was trying to just kind of literally get like airtime to get people to kind of see him. Like literally, I think he even had an agent and stuff like that, like trying to hype him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they say, "Well, what about this John Walker guy, the Super Patriot guy? He's perfect. He's an ex-army guy. He wants to obey, whatever we can do. Like he'll listen. He'll do whatever we ask." And so they recruit him. They even thought about recruiting Nick Fury, but they said he was too old and probably didn't want to give up his SHIELD status. And then they even mentioned, and somebody who would become Captain America, Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. And they literally said in the book, they did not believe that the United States was ready for a black equivalent of Captain America. So
Wow.
they go with John Walker, and this is where the story kicks off. And it basically, and I don't know how much they're going to, obviously Cap is not involved in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but in the comics, it did this really great thing where one issue would be Cap. See, what happens is Cap takes to the road with his buddies. I believe Demolition Man and Falcon and some other people, and he goes on the road to kind of rediscover his roots and rediscover America. He goes on a road trip, and he gets a new uniform. It's his black uniform, which eventually will be taken over by U.S. agent.
Right. It's a black uniform with red and white stripes, and then kind of like a black star in the top right.
And it's a kick-ass uniform. I loved it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it going, it's kick-ass.
Yeah,
And
really cool.
he even gets a new shield because he has to give up his shield. He gets a new shield from Tony Stark, and it's made of vibranium. Because Cap's shield is a mixture of vibranium and an unknown metal alloy, which makes it like super special. It's like a pre-adamant. It's like adamantium and vibranium almost.
Right. That's what I thought. It was like a hybrid of adamantium and vibranium.
Right.
Which is why everybody was always like Wolverine's, claws versus Cap's shield.
Right, which is why Wolverine's claws, I think, couldn't cut through it. Like they would always, that was like one of those things that it couldn't cut through because the shield had this like, mystery alloy. So he gets a shield from Tony Stark, which is made out of vibranium. He goes off on his road trip, but then the other issues would focus on John Walker becoming the new Cap and about him kind of fitting into this role. And it's really, really well done and really cool storytelling because he's got the full support of the government. He actually really is trying to do his best. Like he even leaves his manager, which leads to like a falling out, and he takes his partner with him, who becomes who is his Bucky, but becomes Battlestar, and that's the only thing. Hoskins. That's the only guy he can get to kind of go with him, and he becomes Captain America. And they start sending him out on missions. But the cool thing is the government around this time in Marvel was really messed up. Like that's when they were employing Freedom Force, which was like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, pretty much. There's a scene we were talking about off there where they say, look, he's like saying, I'm having trouble getting the handle of this shield because Cap just knew how to throw it. It was just like another, appendage of his. So they go, okay, we're going to give you some help. And they bring in the Taskmaster, who is incarcerated in the prison. And they say, look, we're going to like maybe shave some, time off your sentence if you can teach this kid how to throw a shield at Cap. Because if you know the Taskmaster, he can see anything and then, mimic it. So there's a whole issue in the whole scene where he's like training him. And even at the end, like John Walker's like, I have to admit, I have respect for him. He's a hell of a teacher. Like he taught me how to throw it. It's just really cool. And basically,
and that's an interesting thing because the Taskmaster, it's almost like a mutant ability of his is to he can see and automatically mimic something. And just because you can see and automatically mimic something doesn't mean that you're good at teaching somebody that skill.
That's true.
So that's a credit to him. So that's a credit to the Taskmaster and the Taskmaster's intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And I think they finally revealed in the story that he was like an ex-SHIELD agent who was like deep undercover to like where he didn't even like they changed his memories. And I think he actually is the result of a super soldier serum. I think his abilities were given to him from an experimental super soldier serum that once again they couldn't mimic, but he did it. But now, to kind of go off script and just from memory of this reading the story, what was really great about this is like he was like a diehard patriot and like was like he even says, there's a quote he tells Valerie Cooper, who was the government liaison, was like, he's like, look, they're like, are you going to be able to listen to like our orders? Because Steve couldn't do that. He's like, if the United States wanted me to be Mickey Mouse, I would be Mickey Mouse. Like he was just like, I'll do whatever you say. And indeed he does. And he goes like, the thing is too, Cap had his super soldier serum, but his strength was nowhere near the level of what John Walker's was. Mm-hmm. And John Walker does not know how to kind of temper his blows. And he ends up killing a guy named Professor Power on one mission just by like punching him out. Like he didn't mean to, he just kills him. So they're like, whoa, Cap, like calm the hell down. Yeah. And it gets to the point where he goes after this other militia group called the Watchdogs, and they kidnap his parents. They find out his true identity from his old manager, because his old manager gets pissed off that he didn't take him with him when he got to rise to the top of being a Captain America, and his parents get killed in front of him. And from that point on, he loses his shit and he kills like all the Watchdogs, and then he literally becomes like Psycho Cap. And you find out eventually that, lo and behold, the Red Skull is behind all this, which, not shocking, Cap and Cap and the Captain, which was Steve Rogers, that's what he was calling himself, team up to defeat the Red Skull. And
wasn't that issue 350 where they faced off?
Yeah, they fight each other. And Cap always had a hard time getting the best of Jack because he was enhanced with his strength, and he also had fighting skills and like that. So he was always like, he was never like a pushover, which I loved.
And spoilers for those that don't know, as far as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America, John Walker in there, doesn't have at the moment enhanced powers. So, it was an interesting choice, I think, for them right now. I don't know what we'll see, coming up, but
there are speculations that he is hiding them. Because I don't know if you saw in that scene where it shows him like practice. They do a quick like training scene, kind of like hyping up John Walker as a new Cap, and he's throwing his shield pretty hard and pretty crazy.
That's true.
And I'm like, that doesn't seem like normal like person. And we do know, like I said, the Power Broker has been hinted at. He's obviously going to be involved in this. So I'm wondering if he is keeping them secret, and then he's going to reveal it, when he kind of has to. But what happens with John Walker is basically he relinquishes the Cap moniker because he's like, he realizes the government was not, being truthful, and they're under the control of the Red Skull. And he says, you take it. And Cap, takes back his moniker, takes back his shield. And the government actually goes like, well, look, we're not going to waste our time and money on everything we've done with you. So we're going to make you something else. And so they fake John Walker's death, and I think they even like erased his memory that his parents were killed because they wanted him to be semi-sane. And they give him Cap's old outfit that he was wearing as the Captain, which was the black one we were talking about, and the vibranium shield, and he becomes U.S. agent. And that character is the character we have today. Right,
but there was a quick little bit in there where he was another character, kind of, sorta, in Force Works. While he was still the U.S. agent, he dumped his costume and his shield into the river. And Tony Stark reached out to him and was like, hey, I want you to join this team. And Scarlet Witch, I think, was the one that persuaded him to join. She said that she needed him to be the backbone of the team. And she needed people almost to be in a military-like line and in a cohesive unit. So he was always kind of, and always throughout his career, he's always described as a loose cannon. But his costume was really weird. It was kind of he had one of those shield things too.
Like riot gear almost. It was like.
Yeah. Like it was like and then it was it was like a weird looking thing. I can't even describe it, but his costume was just dumb. It was dumb.
Well, it came from a cool scene because like U.S. agent eventually joined as kind of like a government watchdog, joined the West Coast Avengers, and Cap came in. There's a really cool issue. It's the last issue of West Coast Avengers where he like just calls everybody in and he's like, by the way, we're disbanding the team, the West Coast, and they're like, what? And even Iron Man's like, okay, like, what are you doing, buddy? And U.S. agent raises his hand to punch Captain America, and Iron Man stops him. He's like, no, not now, not ever.
Right.
And that's when he goes and he throws his suit in there. And then Iron Man, calls him back up.
Yeah, and then Iron Man gives him this energy-based shield, and it's like, what is this bullshit? But I think if I recall, the shield could shoot. And he got kind of used to that. He was like, oh, I could get used to this. I don't have to sling this thing. I can just, make it shoot like out like a shield, like a
and I think it's formed like whatever he wanted it to.
Yeah,
it's kind of
like a photon blast kind of thing and stuff. And he could expand the shield and size and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. I mean, we saw something similar to this actually in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Agent Coulson uses something very similar in one of the episodes. He has one of these shields, this energy shield, and it can expand and stuff. So it's a cool concept overall if done correctly, and I feel like they're going to further that eventually at some point in the MCU.
Well, and now we were talking off air, I was saying they have an actually really weird way of, and kind of like what they did, even though we don't know exactly what it is, but how they kind of brought in the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe into the WandaVision show. There is a weird way to involve the Netflix shows into the MCU Disney Plus shows, because in the comics, the Power Broker is kind of like the head of his organization that makes these like super soldier serum kind of injections and gives people super strength. But that that power, he had a scientist administer that, and that scientist was Dr. Carl Malice. And now, if you're a total Netflix nerd, if you remember in Jessica Jones season 2, even though that was probably the worst season of that show and maybe of a Netflix show, they had Dr. Carl Malice, who did indeed inject people with kind of a super soldier like serum. So I'm wondering if they get that actor, or even just mention him.
Jared, did you forget about Iron Fist being a series on Netflix?
You know what? As I was coming out of my mouth, the Iron Fist popped in my brain. Yeah.
Season 2 was better for what it was worth.
But I will say, after Iron Fist season 1, I would say Jessica Jones season 2 is right there.
Oh yeah, but season 2 of Iron Fist is at least a little better. Better.
Yeah, still trash.
But I mean, season 2 Jessica Jones is like the villain
it's terrible.
Mom, but not your
it's
mom.
terrible. Right.
The scientist is not really the villain, but like it's just your mom. Like what the? Oh God, that was so disappointing. That was so, especially going from the Purple Man to your mom.
Yeah, it was almost like somebody. It was almost like somebody like Jeff Loeb, was designing that world. Oh wait, he kind of was.
It kind of was actually.
Yeah,
poor Loeb.
That makes sense.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
it's good that they strayed away from that and started going with like more of a streamlined Feige kind of a world interlocked universe like this. I like it. I think it's strong. I know prospectors freaking love it. People are losing their goddamn minds over comics.
Every week there's some new record. There's a new record.
I'm telling you, if Mephisto doesn't show up in this,
you're gonna kill somebody. I know you're gonna go kill somebody if he doesn't show up.
Then in the Loki one, because that'll be the next one where Mephisto might show up.
My new favorite thing is kind of how everybody embraced how nuts we all got over like speculation on villains for WandaVision. That now it's like somebody wrinkles their forehead and they're like, if you look at his forehead, it's in the shape of an M. His wrinkle.
Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that one. That was hilarious.
Oh God, it's so good. And I'm just glad we're all having fun with it because it's like, who knows? We don't know, but like, it sure is fun, kind of trying to figure it out. And these Disney Plus shows have been great. And I don't know about you two, but I've been enjoying the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's been
Me too.
It's a definite different avenue, which is perfect. It's a totally different adventure than the WandaVision show.
And it delves into deep topics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of experimentation and stuff, I want to take a moment to talk about Isaiah Bradley, who we recently were introduced to in episode 2 of the Captain America in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Hell of a scene too. Great scene.
And Isaiah Bradley is a very interesting character. You could tell in the series Falcon and the Winter Soldier that he has some type of power, some type of strength at least. Mm-hmm. And what we find out in the comic book series was a 7-part series called Truth, Red, White, and Black. And it starred, one of the main characters was Isaiah Bradley, and he was one of 300 African-American soldiers who were they were used as test subjects at what they called Project Rebirth's attempt to recreate the super soldier serum. So Bradley was the only survivor, really, and he took on the mantle of Captain America, and he traveled to Europe to fight the war. They sentenced him to life in prison as punishment for treasonous acts, going against their will to go fight in the war and stuff, and he was released after 17 years. He became a legend in the black community, but also throughout the years, because of the serum wasn't quite perfected, it also made him dumb.
Really? I didn't know that.
It dumbed him down to the point where he just became somebody that just like he could recognize people, and he was very excited about meeting celebrities.
Oh, wow.
So in this series, near the end of the story, Captain America, he finds out about all this stuff. Steve Rogers does, and he shows up and he finds Isaiah, and he shows up and he gives him his uniform, the Captain America uniform, and he's like, here. He's like, you're the true hero. You deserve this. And Isaiah like smiles real big and he's real happy. And then the biggest thing he wants out of this is a picture with Steve Rogers.
Wow.
Because
That's
he has
so
all
tragic.
these pictures of celebrities up on the wall and he's so excited. And I think it was his wife at the time, wife or daughter, I think it was his wife, was talking about how happy he was to have met so many famous people. And Steve Rogers is just like taken aback and he's like, well, this guy's the real like hero. Why would he, why is he so, and then, he meets him and he's like, oh, okay. That, he doesn't say it, but, he recognizes that he's kind of slow and has been, dim for a while because of this experimental serum, which at some point, would like just basically almost explode people.
Right.
They were just testing them, and it just explained so much about how they used African Americans as test subjects for vaccines and stuff like that, and also for like these serums and stuff. So a very powerful story, really, really well done, and a real part of the canon now, kind of with Captain America. So it was really cool to see him introduced in this Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm expecting more things with Isaiah Bradley to come down the pike, definitely.
Yeah, I'm hoping that wasn't just a one and done with him because the actor was great and it was just a really cool scene.
Yeah, Carl Lumley. Yeah, he's been a working actor for decades, so that's why you see how
he's
effective
already
he is.
Played a superhero, guys. He was the Mantis.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
I heard someone make a reference to that. Okay.
And he was in Supergirl. Like he played a character in Supergirl too.
Okay. So now back to John Walker. Now, do we think? Oh, and a little just tidbit that was hilarious because we talked about Johnny Walker. So when he was given his new government identity, it was Jack Daniels, and I'm not kidding. It was Jack Daniels.
Wow.
So I guess the Marvel writers at that time were just a bunch of alcoholics, and that's okay. But
yeah, I guess so. Did he ever change it to Jim Beam?
No. He did go to Southern Comfort, though, which is a really weird name to just have. Okay.
that was in his
Southern Comfort over there.
That was in his gigolo days.
Yeah.
Why don't you come on over for some Southern Comfort, baby?
Yeah. So I got to say, what is it? Wyatt Russell, Mr. Kurt Russell's kid.
Uh-huh.
I like his take. I there's a kind of an edginess to it. Where you kind of like don't know where you don't know where this guy's coming from. He's definitely not playing it like balls to the wall, like I'm a crazy patriot, like the comic guy, like the John Walker was written in the comics. He definitely has a military background and he is an all-American guy. But I'm really curious if they're going that we see a hint of his, temper. When he says, fine, if you're not going to be friends with me, he's talking to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then you stay the hell out of my way.
Right.
So you see a hint of that.
I think we're Disneyfying it a little bit now, because they want to be able to use this character in the future, no doubt. Right. This man has links to the Thunderbolts. He has links to Alpha Flight. He has links to a lot of teams, the Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, Force Works. They could go any direction with this character. And now that Steve Rogers is gone, he could maybe step in the role, of like he's done right now. But more permanent. But as a U.S. agent, we don't know.
It's worth noting that when in the comics, when John Walker was created, Mark Gruenwald, the writer at the time, said he was getting fan mail from the fans saying, "We don't want Steve Rogers coming back. We like John Walker because he's unpredictable. The Punisher was big at that time. Wolverine was big at that time. He was. They actually wanted him more. Gruenwald, and more power to him, said no. Like I can't. Cap is the reason Captain America exists is because he is always Cap and he is, always willing to be the underdog and fight for the underdog. He's not a bully. He's not a right wing nut. Like
right.
So.
He's Marvel's Superman, for God's sakes.
Yeah, and kudos to Gruenwald for, sticking to his guns, but then also they obviously realized they're like, we got to keep this character around. And we were saying U.S. Agent is still around to this day in the comics, still kind of a loose cannon, but like you kind of still will root for him because you do know he means well. and he will always find a balance and middle ground, because no matter what, as insane as he can be, he does mean well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's always trying to work out those demons, so to speak, with his anger and his frustrations and stuff. So we'll see. I'm a big fan of John Walker, and of U.S. Agent / Captain America. This guy, I do like him a lot. I've liked him ever since I picked up. Literally, the first experience I had with him, I think, was around the time. I can't remember which one came first, but he had a mini-series that came out. It was like a 4-part mini-series that I read and I enjoyed. And then the last issue of the West Coast Avengers, I bought that off the rack. And it was like, this is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I got to buy this. So I bought it, and then I read it, and it was like, we're disbanding the team. And I was like, ah, shit.
When he would stand up to Cap and be like, fuck you, dude, like, which is what I loved. But, like, he also has respect for him. But, yeah. And that 4-part series you're talking about was kind of the addendum to that the original Cap story. That was, like, his first mission as U.S. agent. Kind of working for the government, and it was also to cap off a story that Grunwald had created a while ago called The Scourge of the Underworld, which should totally be a character spotlight too. He was a character that was basically created to kill off like D-list characters in the Marvel universe, and it was like for a year it went on. It's a really cool story.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that, like when we'd meet up and stuff. So yeah, we'll have to cover that at some point. Anything else about the U.S. agent, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see where they go with him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I have a feeling that we are going to see a darker side to him, or at least an edgier side. But I do have a feeling that they are going to try and keep this guy in the mix. Whether he's in a gray, I always think he's going to be a gray character, which is what I love about him. But there's definitely hints that, there's been a lot of rumors kind of in the Mephisto realm, but that the Thunderbolts will be introduced in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he would be like a perfect leader for that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good idea, particularly because they can't do the Thunderbolts almost the same way. Now, we were introduced to Zemo.
Right.
So, he's in the Marvel universe. He's in this universe. So it is possible that Zemo could still be part of that somehow, some way.
Oh, for sure. And they definitely introduced him. They spoilers again. End of episode 2, we see Zemo from Civil War and Winter Soldier. We see him again. So, yeah, we know he's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And hopefully we do get a little taste of the Thunderbolts. I'd be pretty excited about that. I love those characters, and I love that concept, just the general idea of these villains, in this role, or basically kind of like their Suicide Squad, where it's
completely,
these expendable characters led by a guy that's basically an expendable Captain America, so that could be really cool if they went that route anyway. But with that, thank you all for tuning in. We very much appreciate it. We do a live podcast. If you like this, we do a live podcast every Monday on the YouTube channel for Rumble Spoon Productions. It's the Real Short Box Live. We do a lot of fun things, and then we have some giveaways, prizes, things like that as well. Some great sponsors. And we also, all of our audio podcasts are available on just a multitude of platforms. Am I right, Kevin?
Yeah. That's correct. We are on Apple Podcasts, is it called? Google Play, Spreaker, TuneIn. We are in many, many applications out there. And if you want us somewhere else, you let us know. You email us, you text us, you tell us where you want to hear the powerful voices of the Real Short Box.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, my name is Donald.
My name is Dr. Kevin.
My name is Jarrett, the Foo Killer.
And we'll see you
at the most righteous, effervescent, sweet, loving, welcoming comic book
shop.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Take care.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.